We spend our lives being told we should be honest with our children, that sincerity is the foundation of everything. And it is. But as we grow older, something changes. Not the desire to connect. That remains, but the way that connection happens. Many parents, with hearts full of emotion, end up saying more than they should. They talk about their deepest pain, share worries, fears, frustrations, hoping for comfort. And what they often get in return is silence, discomfort, or distance. It's not because your children don't love you. It's because they don't always know what to do with your pain. And that's where the danger lies. When a heartfelt outpouring becomes noise. When the desire for closeness begins to compromise your dignity. Protecting your privacy at this stage of life doesn't mean shutting yourself off. It means protecting yourself. It means ensuring that the most intimate parts of who you are don't get lost in the eyes of someone who may not be ready to truly see them. That's why this video exists. So that more than just advice, you gain awareness. And above all, emotional freedom. Have you ever noticed how some conversations, even when well-intentioned, change something in the relationship? It's as if, after opening your heart too much, the space between you and your children is never quite the same. Maybe they became quieter, colder, or perhaps they started treating you as someone fragile, as if you were no longer capable of taking care of yourself. This doesn't happen because they're insensitive. It happens because without realizing it, you placed an emotional responsibility on them that was never theirs to carry. The truth is, in trying to connect, many parents end up reversing roles. They begin to treat their children as confidants, advisors, emotional support. But children, even grown ones, are still children. And no matter how mature they are, there are certain burdens they shouldn't have to carry. When you share too much, you may unknowingly be planting seeds of insecurity, guilt, or even resentment. They may start feeling overwhelmed, or feel they have to take care of you, when your bond should be rooted in love, not obligation. There's also an invisible side effect. Respect shifts. By being constantly vulnerable, you risk losing the image of balance you've built over a lifetime. Not because vulnerability is bad, but because it needs boundaries, even within the family. Often, too much honesty turns the relationship into something tense and heavy. What should bring closeness creates distance. And what started as an emotional release becomes a silence filled with guilt on both sides. That's why, before opening your heart, you need to ask, will this truth build us up or wear us down? Because yes, there is a cost to oversharing, and it's often invisible, but you can still protect what's yours. And it starts by knowing what's worth keeping to yourself. Not every truth needs to be said, especially when it can hurt, confuse, or overwhelm. Below are 5 things that, no matter how honest they seem, can damage your relationship with your children, and even your own peace of mind. 1. I feel like I'm a burden to you. You might genuinely feel that way, and that feeling is valid. But saying it directly to your children doesn't come across as a call for help. It sounds like a guilt trip. They'll start feeling like they're failing you, even if they're doing their best. Worse, they may begin to see you as fragile or dependent, someone who constantly needs protecting. A better alternative? Share your needs with clarity and dignity. For example, some days I feel more tired than usual. Maybe we could think together about a better routine for me? 2. I wish my life would just end. This is a phrase loaded with deep pain, often tied to loneliness, depression, or fear of dependence. But to your children, it hits like a punch to the gut. They don't know how to respond. It triggers panic, helplessness, and they might even distance themselves because they can't handle the emotional weight. This kind of phrase doesn't ask for help. It paralyzes. Instead, look for spaces where you can process those feelings safely. Therapy, spirituality, support groups. Your children are not equipped to handle that kind of confession, and that's okay. 3. You are the only reason I'm still here. It might sound beautiful, loving, but underneath, it implies that your existence depends on them, which creates enormous pressure. They start feeling responsible for your happiness. That can lead to guilt, resentment, even distance. A healthier way to express love? Say, having you around brings me so much joy. That nurtures without burdening. 4. Intimate details about your marriage, separations, or past trauma. We all carry difficult stories, but not all of them need to be shared with our children. Especially when they involve past relationships, sexual trauma, or confessions that could alter how they see you or another family member. Many parents share these things seeking validation, justice, or closeness. But it often causes the opposite: confusion, discomfort, judgment. Remember, not everything true needs to be revealed. If you need to let it out, write it down, talk to a therapist, or confide in a trusted friend. Don't place that emotional weight on someone still learning to manage their own. 5. Detailed information about inheritance, debt, or finances at the wrong time. Talking about money with adult children is important, but it needs the right moment, emotional stability, and preparation. When shared during a moment of weakness, fatigue, or resentment, it taints the conversation. It can lead to mistrust, hidden conflicts, or future hurt. Avoid phrases like, "I've left everything to you," or "I don't even know if I'll be able to leave anything." The best path is peaceful planning with clear records, ideally with professional guidance. That way, you stay in control and prevent misunderstandings. These 5 statements, said in moments of pain or impulse, can leave lasting scars. And the saddest part? They're often said out of love. But love isn't sharing without filters. Love is also knowing how to protect what's most sensitive. It's protecting yourself. After hearing those 5 statements, maybe you thought, "But I just needed to vent. I needed to say it." And that's the reality for so many. No one wakes up thinking, "I'm going to emotionally burden my child today." What happens is, at some point in life, silence starts to weigh heavily, and the desire to be heard becomes almost urgent. As the years pass, loneliness seeps into daily life. Sometimes it's the house that feels too big. Sometimes it's time that moves too slowly. Sometimes it's your heart, overflowing with untold stories. And when a child shows up listening attentively, it feels like the perfect moment to unload that emotional baggage. Other times, the urge to open up comes from hope. Maybe the relationship has grown distant, and you think, "If I show my pain, maybe they'll come closer." Or it comes from a deep desire for someone to finally understand what you've lived through, what you've felt. And sometimes, we talk too much out of fear. Fear of losing our place. Fear of becoming invisible. Fear of being forgotten in our silence. All of this is human. The problem isn't feeling. The problem is believing that the only solution is to share everything, and share it with people who may not be able to hold it. When we turn our children into emotional harbors, we risk becoming even more fragile and more alone. Not because they don't care, but because there are parts of us that can only be seen with maturity, compassion, and sometimes by people not directly tied to our history. That's why, before you speak, ask yourself, do I want to be heard or understood? There's a common misconception that being discreet means being closed off, as if keeping certain things to yourself were a sign of coldness, or that you have something to hide. But in truth, discretion is a form of wisdom. It's the art of protecting what is sacred, including within yourself. With time, we learn that not everyone needs to know everything, not even your children. Not because there's a lack of love, but because some emotions can only be understood by those who've lived through the same pains, the same cycles. In maturity, learning to hold back certain truths is not cowardice. It's emotional maturity. It's understanding that to preserve is also to love. It's respecting your own boundaries and those of others. You don't need to explain yourself all the time. You don't have to justify yourself. You don't have to turn your story into an open book. Some pages are yours alone. And keeping them protected is a way of remembering that you still have an intimate space, one that no one enters without an invitation. That inner space, when cared for, brings peace, because that's where you keep your dignity, your secrets, your wisdom. Not to hide them from the world, but to shield them from judgment, distortion, or even trivialization. Choosing discretion doesn't mean you're distancing yourself from your children. It means you're taking a step forward in the kind of bond you want to build. A relationship rooted in mutual respect, not emotional oversharing. There is power in silence. There is strength in restraint. And there is dignity in choosing what to share and what to hold back. Because sometimes the best way to be heard is knowing what not to say. After so many years of caring for others, there comes a time when you need to care for yourself. Not just your body, but your emotions too, and with the same kindness and respect. But how can you do that without overburdening your children? How do you handle the feelings that tighten your chest? When you feel like you've already said too much, or like there's no one left to talk to, the first thing you need to know is, you are not alone. Thousands of people, just like you, face this same dilemma. They want to express themselves, to lighten the emotional load, but they don't know where to begin. And the first step is often to change the question. Instead of asking, who can I share this with? Try asking, how can I take care of this inside myself? Here are some simple yet deeply transformative paths. 1. Write. Even if no one reads it. Writing is a kind of conversation with yourself. Use a journal, a notepad, or letters you never intend to send. Write as if you were confiding in an old friend. Sometimes, it's on the page that the soul finds peace. 2. Talk to people who are in the same stage of life. Friends your age, neighbors, support groups. Talking with those who have lived, or are living, similar experiences can bring comfort and connection. There is shared wisdom and maturity. 3. Seek safe spaces to be heard. A therapist, a spiritual advisor, a support group. These spaces exist to welcome you without judgment and to help you make sense of what you're feeling. You don't have to sort through everything alone. 4. Transform your pain into purpose. Volunteering, art, spirituality, gardening, reading, writing. All of these can be powerful ways to express what you feel. Your emotions don't have to become confessions. They can become creativity, action, or even fertile silence. Expressing yourself isn't wrong. The issue is choosing the wrong time, or the wrong person, to do so. Your children aren't your enemies, but they may not be the ideal confidants. Protect the relationship and protect yourself. You deserve a space to feel, and that space can exist, even if it's yours alone. Taking care of yourself is the first step, but when you choose to be more reserved, something deeper begins to happen. You reclaim ownership of your own story. It's as if, little by little, you become the guardian of your feelings again. No longer a prisoner of the urge to say everything, or of the fear of being misunderstood. You calmly choose what's worth sharing, and with whom. And this act, though it may seem small, changes everything. Your relationship with your children becomes more balanced. They stop feeling responsible for your emotions, and you are once again seen as someone who inspires, who teaches, who carries strength. Because yes, there is strength in well-placed silence. By becoming more reserved, you also protect your family bond from unnecessary strain. You avoid conversations that could turn into guilt trips. You avoid misunderstandings that could leave emotional scars. But perhaps the greatest gain is inner peace. You begin to feel more whole, more at ease with what you hold inside, and with what you choose to reveal. And the freedom of not needing to say everything is one of the highest forms of emotional autonomy there is. Little by little, you begin to realize the right kind of silence doesn't create distance, it brings people closer. Discretion, when born from care, is a form of love. Love for yourself and for those you love. Not everything needs to be said for love to exist. In fact, sometimes silence is the greatest gift you can give yourself, and your children as well. Your story, your joys and your pain, are far too precious to be shared without care. Protecting what's intimate is not an act of distance, it's an act of respect. Respect for yourself and for those around you. By choosing wisely what to share, you strengthen the dignity you've spent a lifetime building. You protect your family bonds from unnecessary wear, and create space for a relationship rooted in genuine care and mutual respect. Remember, keeping your secrets is not weakness, it's wisdom. Protecting your emotions is not selfishness, it's self-love. And if this video resonated with you, please share it with someone who might need to hear this message too. Let us know in the comments. When did you realize that saying too much could bring more pain than relief? Your experience might help someone else take their first step toward emotional freedom. Because taking care of yourself is the first step to truly caring for the ones you love. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.